This video is a part of a series created in collaboration with Gotchies, the healthy underwear company. Why? I have no idea. Don't learn more at getgotchies.com.
So how'd you get into Gotchies specific, or why underwear? Why not just like something specifically underwear?
I'll tell you the background story. Sure. So my business partners and I, who are all my friends and also mostly my roommates, we've been very entrepreneurial for the last 2 years. Kind of at the end of our college careers, thinking we're about to go work these corporate jobs, but we also want to explore entrepreneurship routes, kind of express our creativity through business. Tried a bunch of different things, a lot of failures, a lot of learning, but we always believe that doing something is better than doing nothing, no matter what. Let's just do something. And so one of the things that we did was early on was we did this thing called Saturday Speeches, where you're actually welcome to come to one in the future if you'd be interested. But essentially, people come to our house at 9 or 10 a.m. on Saturday. We only do it we used to do it every week, but now it's like once every month, every 2 months because of scheduling and just time issues. But we would invite people, and the only rule was the first time you came, you had to give a presentation on any subject that you wanted to. And we thought that this was an opportunity to connect with people, network, learn new things, which could, not only was it good for business potential, but it was also a way to practice public speaking, practice articulating your ideas. And, you think you can speak well until you're in front of a crowd and you're trying to eloquently portray this thing you have in your head. Because in school, you give presentations on an assignment or a rubric, and everyone kind of does the same thing. Everyone kind of BS's it. With this, you're talking about something that you choose. You can choose the depth of it. You can choose what message you want to portray. There's no rubric, there's no grading, which is very different for most people. Most people have never given a presentation like that. And so that was our mentality, because we believed doing something was better than doing nothing. And it was something that we could do immediately. It was just invite people over, give a presentation, listen, make friends, talk. Presentations were about religion, business, food to eat, literally anything. And we didn't want people to tell us what they were going to talk about beforehand. They just showed up. And this went on for about a year consistently. And one of the presentations that I gave was, I had stumbled across a bunch of research about the negatives of polyester and synthetic clothing. And this hit me differently because I had been actively walking around talking about how I think Lululemon is the greatest brand ever. Lululemon sells the highest quality shorts. Their shorts are $80 a pair, and it's totally worth it because they're so high quality, right? But they had fooled me with their marketing. They had convinced me that now the shorts, they're good to work out in, they're comfortable to wear, but I was actively walking around thinking and telling other people that they were made out of the best stuff.
Okay, is that how their marketing works? So I know
their marketing is like athleisure, like this is the performance stuff. They made me feel like they were selling me very quality products. And yeah, they do fit well and they look good, but like it's made out of 100% polyester, which is super cheap, bad for you, bad for your skin, bad for your fertility. And I got kind of frustrated because I was like, I take pride in being a healthy person. I take pride in eating organic food. I take pride in not putting, sugar in my coffee and drinking black coffee, and always trying to work out and, find new health hacks. So not only did I realize that I had been wearing clothing that was unhealthy for me, but I was also telling my friends to buy it. And then I, started doing the research, started learning about polyester, and then kind of realized that underwear was really the worst possible place to be wearing polyester and synthetic clothing. And so I gave a presentation about it. No purpose of the presentation was to start a company. There was no concept of, hey, I'm going to try to sell these people on this and do market research. I just gave a presentation. I was like, hey, this is what I've been reading about the last, few months. This is something I've become a little bit more frustrated with on a grand scale. Like, I'm sure you guys aren't aware of it. I wasn't aware of it. And there was probably 12 to 15 people that day. And a lot of people in the crowd were like, dang, I really need to get some non-polyester underwear. Like, I didn't even know this was a problem. I need to get something that's healthy for me. And I kind of noted that. Like, wow, there's people who are interested in this and they don't know about it. It's not mainstream at all. And then I went to order some cotton underwear because there are substitutes for polyesters like cotton, merino wool, silk, whatever. So I ordered some cotton underwear. And then it came and I still felt the plastic elastic waistband. And I was like, man, this is not what I wanted. I wanted, I didn't want to feel plastic in these. And so then I started to look for something to buy. And I was like, there's not that many options out there. There's some companies who sell organic underwear, but there's not that many. And I didn't feel like they were heard of. They were growing, but they weren't mainstream. I was like, the competition is not insanely strong. most people don't know about the problem, but once they hear about it, they're interested. And it's something that we could do right now, because I need to be realistic. Like, we can't start a rocket creation company. We don't know anything about that. It's like, what's something that a bunch of 22 to 23-year-olds can do right now with essentially no money, no experience? And underwear was one of those things that we felt like we could do. So the speech happened, and then within 48 hours, we started moving on the company, just like that. Started figuring out like what's the highest quality, underwear we can get. We determined it was GOTS, which stands for the Global Organic Textile Standard, certified organic cotton. Started contacting manufacturers that produce organic cotton. We were like, we're going to sell organic underwear. We want to sell the healthiest underwear in the market. We wrapped our waistband in, because you kind of can't really have boxer briefs without an elastic waistband because it's not stretchy. So we wrapped ours in organic cotton. That was kind of the solution to that problem. And then we just went for it. Just started talking about it. It took about 7 or 8 months from we're going to do this to the shipment's here. We're ready to sell. We've been selling for about 3.5 months now. Going great. But hopefully that provides you with a little more context on like why the company exists.
What did you say in your, if you remember, do you remember what you said in that talk, that original talk about polyester?
There's links with that. It impacts our fertility, our testosterone, and it makes sense because we all see it. Fertility rates are dropping, birth rates are dropping, testosterone rates are dropping, men are becoming weaker. Is this solely due because of polyester clothing? Absolutely not. But is it a factor? I think so. And most people aren't aware of it, and they'd want to make the change if they were aware of it. So it's a lack of education is one problem. Everyone kind of knows that you shouldn't eat processed food at this point. And if you still eat processed food, it's just because you don't care. But for underwear, no one knows, or 99% of the population doesn't know that polyester is bad for you. So yeah, they'll make the switch as soon as they know about it. So I was just saying these are the names like polyester, nylon, spandex. Like these are words to avoid in your clothing. If you're paying a lot of money for them, don't, because they're super cheap to make. Just a bunch of plastic. These are not high quality materials. So don't be fooled. I was mostly saying don't be fooled by marketing. Don't overpay for garbage. You should care because it can impact you. There's so many things that are toxic inputs into our body that we can't avoid. At least don't wear toxic underwear. At least don't drink out of plastic water bottles all day. This is something that you can control. A lot of things we can't control. So the speech was just about here's what synthetic materials are, just so people are aware. Because if you read a tag, you might see nylon.
Is it like the plastic gets transmitted through the skin or something, or
plastic is transmitted through the skin? Exactly, and literally into the testicles, into the pores, into the testicles. It's not good for your skin health. It's kind of like when you wear polyester and you sweat, you can kind of smell it. It's just goes into the skin, impacts the sperm, just sending microplastics into our sperm.
It's interesting because my dad never liked polyester, so I always wore cotton stuff. Like I have polyester right now, but I have a cotton undershirt because I don't like the feel of polyester. But is there anything about like the sensitivity that's because like for me, when I wear polyester, I get itchy, like everything feels weird. But like when most people I know, they wear polyester because it's cheap, it's easier. Is there anything that, because your briefs are like $30 a piece.
Yeah.
If you got one of them.
Yeah, if you got one.
Why is it so expensive?
Because organic cotton what makes organic cotton organic is because there's a lack of pesticides in it. So regular cotton, like your the shirt I'm wearing right now, it's just regular cotton, tons of pesticides. There's, insecticides, herbicides. There's organic also is environmental aspect of from the whole supply chain from growing it. There's a ton of water waste. There's not that much auditing over the whole process. Organic pretty much says there's no toxic chemicals, there's no toxic dyes. Like you can have that t-shirt right now, it can be all great cotton, but the dark blue that they use to dye it has a bunch of toxic chemicals in it. So organic cotton says from farm, from the way it's grown with pesticides all the way to putting it on your skin, there's not toxic dyes, there's not pesticides, there's not other little chemicals that can get thrown in there to, make it X, Y, or Z. And then also we're saving water. The farming practices are ethical. There's no child labor. Those kind of things. So environmental, human rights, and the type of materials that go into it. And obviously that's significantly more expensive for the manufacturers. And if people want nice quality things, then they typically have to pay for it. Like, yeah, we're $30 a pair, but our competitors are $34, $36. So we do feel like we know we're expensive for the underwear market, but we feel like we're cheap for the organic underwear market. And if people aren't interested in investing in these niche products that, could have positive impact in their health. Like, that's okay. We're not trying to bend over backwards for, this is for a specific person who wants to invest in their health. If you're unhealthy, overweight, not disciplined in terms of health, you're addicted to vape, you drink all the time, the underwear is the last of your worries. And so we're not trying to target them. We want to target people like us who are already healthy, but
Just take it one step further.
take it one step further. And it's like, hey, you already do all these things. The only reason you're not doing this other thing, which is wearing clean underwear, is because you don't know about it. We want to notify those people of the problem and then switch them over.
Yeah, how do you find the right manufacturers who already have because one, it's not just the manufacturing itself and making it so efficient that they save money and then you save money on the manufacturing process.
So we get our clothing manufactured in Turkey, and they have, decades long history of manufacturing cotton and making cotton. They have a huge textile export business, and cotton's one of the things they've invested heavy into. So they're very good at it. They're efficient with it. But in terms of how we found the right manufacturers, we only talk to people who are GOTS certified. So we contacted GOTS. We went through GOTS and said, hey, we need a list of manufacturers who are, within your database and who get annual recertifications that the textiles that are coming from there are actually organic. And we only contacted those people. And then we talked to them and see, a lot of these manufacturers, they don't want to work with new people either. If you're coming in with not massive, amounts of money, they don't want to work with you. So we had to find someone that wanted to work with us, that was in our price range, that meted our organic standards, that was communicative, that was willing to export to America. So it was very hard. I contacted probably 50 manufacturers, probably 4 responded. One of them was luckily, good enough to work with, and I love working with them. They're great people. Definitely want to go out to Turkey sometime and visit them.
So like regarding GOTS, what makes their certification worth being, like, putting your name behind it?
It's the gold standard of organic cotton procedures. They're based in Europe, but they actually go out to the facilities and audit them annually. It's a nonprofit that's solely based around organic textiles, and they audit, annual checkups, procedures. Every time whenever we get a shipment of Gotchies, we also get a certificate saying this order is GOTS certified. It's not just the manufacturer, because you can get, ideally, a manufacturer could get GOTS certified, right? But then they're like, okay, we got a GOTS certification, we fooled them, they're gone, let's just go back to the old ways. No one's ever going to know. But it's not like that. We get a certification that's saying this order on this date with this many products and this much weight is GOTS certified. And they just have the best reputation for applying those farm to skin standards that I was talking about earlier. I'm sure there's some other ones too, but GOTS is just very well known.
Do you guys put like a little paper in each of your packages that kind of says the same thing?
We put I need to give you a pair, by the way. Let me know your size. But when you get the package, you'll see a GOTS logo on the outside of it, and it'll say series like 2018 or 218. And then if you were to look that up, it would tell you who our certifier is and like the details of it. So it's not direct, but if someone cares and they want to know, they can access it, and we don't hide it.
The main thing is just education, just not knowing that it's a problem, but also not being like paranoid about it. It's like, it's not like the most, like, people are getting hungry in the world. This is not the most important thing, but it's like one more thing that don't have to worry about. How long, like for an average use, how long does a pair of boxers last?
I've been wearing mine for 8 or 9 months now, because that's just as long as the first one has existed for, and they're perfectly fine. They hold up well. The shrinkage is minimal, 5 to 10%. Great longevity as far as I can tell. Now, I haven't had a pair because the company's only existed for less than a year. So I've only had a pair for so long. I don't want to lie and say I know they last forever, because I don't. But as far as I can tell,
at least 9 months.
At least, and like, it's suggested that you wash on cold, either air dry or tumble blow dry. Most people aren't that disciplined with laundry. Neither am I. I chuck mine in the dryer, boom, and they're fine. You know what I mean? So you don't need to be all. They might shrink, like probably not even a noticeable amount, but that's the biggest concern is probably slight shrinkage.
Yeah. What's the quality control that you have on, or not quality control, but like on a given shipment, how much of that is not usable for distribution?
So far, we're at 100%.
100%.
We haven't seen any unusable.
Really? That's good.
But to be fair, we have put in low MOQs. Like, we've only ordered a few thousand pairs now. So as we ordered hundreds of thousands, millions of pairs, we'll see some numbers.
But 100% is still a lot.
Yeah.
It's still very good. Yeah.
But it is possible that we send some to customers and they don't like them. Something's wrong, and they don't notify us. They're just like, oh, whatever. And we don't know. There's no way for us to know unless they tell us. We haven't had that happen. So I have no data other than everything that I've heard, everything that I've seen is 100%.
I think that's probably one of the problem with businesses, that sometimes people will say that, or buy something, realize that it's like low quality, but never inform the manufacturer, and then you can't fix it. You can't like look back at the back and say, okay, this is something that went wrong here. Notify.
Yeah, feedback is very important. That's what I've realized from trying to sell in the retail space is if I bought a product, I was never a return person. I don't think I've ever returned anything in my life ever. I'm just not. Are you?
Oh yeah, all the time.
You're a big return person?
I've saved thousands of dollars by returning to Amazon.
For just because things you don't like, or just because you like order two and try one and return the other?
No, mostly it's when I order something, realize that it's too much for the value for the price isn't good, or more often it's like low quality. And I'm like, the value of what I bought isn't the value that I hold myself to.
And talk me through the consumer journey of you choosing that product.
Consumer journey.
Yeah, like why'd you choose that one? You bought it on Amazon, you said?
Well, I guess you're asking for like for like a company perspective, like okay. If I were looking at a product on Amazon, just let's say computer bag. I'm looking for a computer bag. How much value how much quality do I need out of it? Well, not much. I just need to hold a computer, hold some papers, my AirPods, just to be able to carry it around quickly, go into the store, maybe write something down on my computer and then leave, but make it very compact. So I just like, what is the best thing for that, and does it get it done? I'm not too worried about aesthetics. I do prefer like darker colors and everything. Like I'm not going to get like a nice hot pink bag or something. But I also see 20. That I think that was $20. $20 for the efficiency of, oh, now I don't have to worry about like, do I have everything together? No, it has pockets, but it's also minimal enough that it's not like, that's not bulky or anything. I don't have to put like a bag strap on or anything. So I do know that men and women do have different things, but you guys do target the male audience.
We only sell men's stuff right now.
So that's good. So I think of it from a practical, screw women. I think of it from like a practical standpoint. 1, how much does this cost? 2, how much value is it giving me? And 3, is this worth the long-term lack of headache? Like, will this make me more efficient, more productive, more, like if I bought this again, would I want to buy it in 6 months or would I buy it in a year? If it makes me more efficient, I don't have to think about it. I'll probably buy it again just because it's like $20. Don't have to worry about it.
And what was the time frame from I need to buy this to going on your computer and putting in your credit card? Was it like next day, or was it like you thought about it for 6 months?
So 2 different things. For something like that, I don't think about that, but rather the use case, less than a couple hours. If I think about it, I need it, I look on Amazon, is there something that meets what I need? Yes, buy it. Comes next day, perfectly fine. But if we're talking about clothing, specifically like aesthetics and everything, I'm not like, this is the same outfit I've been wearing for the last 6 months. It took me about 4 days to figure out, just to find this one shirt that has like pockets that looks decent, but also it's not too, like, colors look nice and everything. So like this outfit, I probably won't change for quite a long time.
And you wear it every day?
I wear it, yeah.
One shirt, or do you have them the same bunch of the same?
3 of the same shirts, 3 of the same jeans.
Why do you just wear the same outfit every day?
It's just, I want to wake up and the last thing I want to, well, 1, consistency. I like the consistency of wearing the same thing every day. And like, if there's one thing in my day that's consistent, it's what I wear. But also 2.
That's interesting.
2, and this is probably just a me thing, that if I'm going to wear something, there's the 60-30-10 rule when it comes to like cinematography and everything, where it's like 60% your primary color, 30% a secondary color, and then 10% an accent color. So in my case, 60% blue, 30% brown, 10% black.
True.
And blue and brown are almost opposite on the color wheel, so they aesthetically match pretty well. And I like blue because it's a cooler tone. Don't really think about it too much, but it's also not the same kind of blue all the way.
Yeah.
So like for me, I know most guys don't think that way. Like for me, once I get something and that becomes part of my routine, I'm not going to think about, I'm going to like, this shirt is probably the last time I'm going to wear it. Next time I'm going to get the same shirt, but new shirt, replace it. So if I'm thinking about underwear, most likely it's like when I look for underwear, I check how much is each underwear. Is it cotton? I haven't looked for organic cotton, but probably
will
now.
To. Yeah, you should.
Yeah. Is it worth the price? Because usually I'll get like a pack of 6 for like $20 or something. Okay, $6. It's the value for each one is enough because I'm not going to think about what I'm wearing. Just put underwear on, boom, that's it. And then is it from a reputable brand? Is it a brand that I know of? I might not like the way that they market things. Like Calvin Klein, I don't like the way that they market anything. But is it a company that I know, like I can look at it and know that the quality is going to last more than 6 months, more than a year?
So it seems like you're pretty concerned about longevity of the product of your underwear, which is most people don't ask about that. Most people ask about like, how's it fit? Do I like the design? Like very rarely does someone ask about longevity, which is interesting.
I'm just saying, I don't care what. I'm not hooking up with girls or anything. I don't think the design of my underwear
Not yet.
matters.
You might. You get some Gotchies on. You don't know what could change.
Okay, first of all, I'm not that kind of guy. But second of all, I mean, for what you guys are marketing, the fertility aspect, that would be pretty. Like, I'm sure there's a market for that. I would do it more for the health benefits, not for the sexualization. But considering that is a really good marketing tool, go for it. Like, I don't care how you run your company, but if I understood, like from a third person perspective, if I understood that you guys are health based, but also like if you had marketing that way, I wouldn't care about that. I would care about the like, what do I care about?
So do you distinguish the difference between health-based and fertility? Because to me, those are one of the same.
Health-based and sexual
Because when I think of if you're infertile, you got something wrong with your health. So fertility,
like hookup culture and health and science. So like from fertility from a health standpoint, that's fine. Like completely understand that. That's a logical, like, I don't understand what that is. But then when you get into like the hookup culture, like, oh, this makes me more like a man, boost my testosterone levels. Like, I can't agree with that. But for like, I can't say, like, when it comes to clothing, I really don't care, because I don't care what I just wear the same thing every day. So I don't have to worry about what I look like. But
would you ever get to a point, like as I've gotten older, I'm more into buying less things, but the things that I do have, I like to spend more money on them, as in get a quality, not just spend money to spend money. Like, I'm okay with spending money on something if I deem it as quality, because I know I don't buy stuff very often. Like, for example, I just bought a super nice Mac, like a super nice, because I never had a nice computer, and it was always like, oh, I don't want to spend that much money. But I realize that I'm using this computer every day. It plays a big toll into my efficiency. It's worth something investing into. And same for shirts. Like, if you're wearing that shirt every single day, it's worth it to spend like $200 on that t-shirt if you're wearing it every single day.
So I see it more of value than it is quality. So for example, these lights are not the best quality. They are, like, I know there are better quality, and I've seen it, I've tried it too, but these get the job done. So quality for the price, value is very high. Like, gets the job done, looks good, it's easy to move around, no problem with that. Now, when it comes to my cameras, I know that those are the main thing that I'm going to be looking at when I'm looking at anything. And while there is a first generation version of this camera, it is lower quality. It doesn't have all the features I needed, and it won't expand with me while I get better. So, not to get too technical, this shoots in 10-bit 422. Most cameras around, like if I cheaped out by $300 or something to save money, I would get a camera that's only 8-bit 420. Now, I only shoot in 8-bit 420, but it did, like, longevity, I can use that. I can let the camera expand with me. Now, are there better cameras out there? Absolutely. I know which cameras would, like, if I had like $20,000, I can make this so much nicer. But value for the price. Is this valuable both short-term and long-term? And is the price for what I'm paying for worth that longevity? If like these, I wouldn't mind replacing, like if I had to spend another $100 to replace both of these, I'm more than happy to do that. Like if they started melting or something because it can't handle the heat, perfectly fine. But I would rather replace these, get a new one, than get something that's $500 and say, same thing goes with the microphones. I could go on for a bunch of different tangents, but I know most people don't care about these, which is fine.
I think it's interesting. Interesting.
That's what I'll geek out on, but I also don't want to, this is also about you, not about me.
Yeah.
So
no, I'm interested. I want to hear about this, how this exists, why you started this, what the long-term plan is, like how you got to this point. I'm interested in all things, people starting things and trying things and putting this out there. So I want to hear about this journey as well.
Well, yeah, but I've also said this on other episodes, so I don't mind saying it. It's also like repetitive. Like, this is about you, and I also don't want to waste your time here. So, but how this, like, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version just to satisfy the curiosity. It is curiosity, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just to satisfy the curiosity. Started this about a year ago because I had one good conversation with one person. And I would just, like, that serotonin high, not just the dopamine, but the serotonin high of like a good, deep, meaningful conversation is just, I got addicted to it. So I just started tinkering around, slowly built it up. And then now I just do as much as I can. And like, it's the first thing that gave me like a sense of purpose, like a sense of I can do something, even if it doesn't make me money, I can still do it because I love to do it. I'll just keep doing it for free until like someone was like, hey, I'll pay for that. And then I know I have to get paid for this, but eventually, not that's one specifically, but where was I going with that? Anyways, so I like to do this just because I like talking to people, but understanding how they think, how they interpret the world, and then just like eventually we'll get into the philosophy aspect, but I did want to make sure that you get Gotchies on here a little bit just because it's kind of the point.
Yeah.
Like if I understood the science behind it, which we have Kievash later on the 12th, once I understand the science of it, the science behind it, then it would be something like, oh, well, now I don't want anything else other than Gotchies, or like I wouldn't, because once you get that loyalty from a customer, they're going to advertise for you, regardless of who you are. Like they won't care who you are, but it's like, this makes me feel better about myself, and that itself is a win.
Kivash will probably go into the science a little bit deeper with you, but there's a lot of studies that are done on this stuff. When we have an education page where we write our own blogs, we don't just link like, go check this out. It's we do an analysis over the blog. It's like, this is what we're reading and this is what we think. This is how it applies to you and your product. Because we want to show consumers that we are actually looking into this stuff. We actually care. And we're not scientists. Like
You're not? Wow.
Yeah, we're not scientists, but we do just want to know. We want to show people that we care and that we actually look into it. And if a fertility doctor came on here, he would know 1,000 times % more than me. But we're trying to show that we act like this is something that it's not just, oh yeah, like save your sack, bro, you need to. It's like no. Like I wrote a recent blog about a study was done by Dr. Shauna Swan in like 2006, and she compared pesticide levels in men across 4 states. I think it was like Minnesota, New York, Missouri, and some other state. It was 4 states, and she was trying to do an analysis of if a man spends a lot of time around pesticides, is there any correlation with a decline in sperm health? And she found that the men in Missouri who were working high agricultural jobs, their sperm was like significantly depleted in compared to the men who lived in city areas. So and the analysis she made was, okay, pesticide exposure has significantly, bad impacts on your sperm health. Guess what product has a ton of pesticides?
Which
cotton, inorganic cotton. Now, is it to the level where you're in a field all day working with pesticides? No, but like it goes to show you that cotton is one of the highest. It consumes like one of the top 5 most amount of pesticides in the world for crops, and it's the solution to polyester is just regular cotton. But we're trying to show that we don't think that's enough. You need organic cotton, especially in your underwear.
And you said your parents were started in business?
Yeah, both of them. My dad started his own payroll company. He was working he was working a low-end corporate job after college, like didn't really have a good degree, didn't really have much going for him. He was working in some client-serving role, and he took in a bunch of input from customers because he was talking to customers on the ground. That was his job, making no money, just like a little chump, answering the phone. And they kept complaining to him about stuff. And he was like, oh, I'm going to try to go get a promotion or go try to impress the executive level guys, like the guys who can actually drive change. So he drove from the DMV to like New Jersey to their headquarters and was like, hey, these are what I'm thinking. Like I'm trying to impress them. And they essentially were like, yeah, we're good. We don't really, get back to work. Like they weren't disrespectful about his presentation or what he was trying to do, but they essentially were like, we have our plan. Like we don't really need to hear from the guys at the bottom about what we need to change. So he quit, started his own company, stole all their clients. And that was pretty much, and from there, entrepreneurship, was his life. It was how his brain was formed. And that was the guys that I was raised under. I think your parents have such a big impact in what you end up doing. And obviously, the way that they view the world is the way that they're going to teach you to view the world too. So like, it was never get the best grades and learn how to be a good employee. It was, are you observing business opportunities? How well can you handle stress? Can you manage finances well? Like if you can't manage your personal finances, you're not going to be able to manage company's finances. So that was the way that I was taught to think. So I never really valued like a grade that much. Or I never really valued, trying to figure out how to climb the corporate ladder all that much. It was, can you think for yourself and be an entrepreneur? And my mom kind of, she was her own independent consultant, so she still handled her own things. And that's just kind of how I was born. And I just think, this is maybe a philosophy thing, but I just think people should spend a lot of time doing introspection on who they are and where they came from. Honestly, I don't think most people that I know spend enough time evaluating their parents. Like, who are my parents? Because that is essentially who I am to a certain degree. what do they want to instill in me? Like, what was I taught as a kid? Those are what I call like the way that your brain thinks. And I think people should play into the way that I'm assuming maybe you came from a household where there's a lot of open conversation. You guys like dialogue, maybe long form conversation. I don't know.
Not at all.
But like somehow,
Quite the opposite,
Somehow,
actually.
so maybe it was the opposite. A lot of times people they drive their interest from what didn't happen to them or what did. But I think people should observe that and be aware of it and try to play into it rather than just like everyone tells you need to be, to get the best grades of all time. But maybe that's not who you are. But the sooner you figure that out, and it doesn't need to be like this is what I want to do as a career, but it's like what position can I put myself in based upon my upbringing to where I'm going to be able to maximize my skills,
But most people want to stay in that little level of comfort, their comfort zone of who they think they are, the perception of who they are, or worst, the perception of what society wants them to think. Not even what society does want them to think, which society doesn't even know what they want to think. Like the world doesn't love you, the world loves itself. But also that getting out of that comfort zone isn't like some people think it's like, oh, I'll get out of it once and then I'll be set for life. No, it's like there's a continuous process. It never ends. And that's also like, it's like trying to go into going on a staircase, but the staircase never ends. It just keeps going up. And it's the problem. It's like, oh, and again, going back to comparison as a thief of joy. Oh, there's no end to this. Well, there's never been an end to it. Like the staircase wasn't supposed to end. You're just better than you were. It's still going up.
The staircase is the whole thing. Is the staircase? It's not what's at the end of it. I read a quote one time that said, "We encourage those to follow the path, but idolize the ones who stray from it." As in, like we tell everyone, "Oh, you gotta do this. Don't take the risk. Don't do that." But whenever we see someone do it and they succeed, it's like, "Wow, that guy or that person is such a legend." It's like we tell everyone to do this, but the ones who get the accolades and the achievements are the ones who don't follow the path. And I think it's very interesting.
There's one thing that you did say during the brainstorming, which is put in the consistency and believing in yourself, which I mean, it's pretty obvious, but was there a time in your life when you weren't consistent and you didn't believe in yourself?
I've never not believed in myself. I've been nervous as hell. I've been, like for some reason when I was playing high school football, it's kind of cliche because it's kind of cringe, but like high school football taught me a lot because I played receiver, which is, I don't know if you watch football,
Nope.
But I had to catch the ball.
Okay. Oh, wow.
I had to catch the ball.
Wow.
That was essentially my job, right? And it's hard. Yeah, it's hard. What's interesting about the role is you can't get into a flow. It's very hard to get into a flow state because like in basketball or jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai, like you're kind of moving. You're in the flow state. Like things are happening. Your brain can get activated. With receiver, it's very mental because you might not get any action for the whole game, and then when you're needed, you need to get action. You're never really in that. You're rarely in the flow state of like I'm just feeling it right now. You're constantly battling your own mind in the sense. Like when I played basketball, it's not like that because the ball's always moving. People are always moving. You're running. With the receiver, you might not get any action for the first 3/4 of the game, and then you're called upon to make a great play. But where I'm going with this, it was very hard to handle the nerves in terms of like because you only have one job, and like if you mess up in that one play or if you drop the pass or do something stupid, that's what people will remember. And like basketball and jiu-jitsu and stuff, it's easy to make comebacks. Like if I miss a shot, but I can go make a different play. So I would say it was very mentally taxing, at least for me. And for most of my career growing up, I used to get super nervous. And I got really angry at myself for being nervous. Like I was like, why do I feel so nervous? But then when I was a senior, I realized that it's not about not being nervous. Everyone's nervous. It's about being comfortable being nervous. And it's about being okay that you're nervous. And it took me a long time to realize that. And I've been able to apply that in everything in my life. It was never, I don't believe myself, I'm going to fail. It's just like, I wish I wasn't this nervous. I wish I felt more confident. I associated feeling nervous with a lack of confidence, which I don't think that's what it is. I think feeling nervous is a good thing. Like I'm slightly nervous for this conversation. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is, but I'm walking here. It's like, okay, it's good. Being nervous is cool. It doesn't faze me anymore.
Oh, how would you define being nervous? Or how would you define nervousness?
Wishing that I would define nervousness as whenever I'm feeling nervous, I would always be like envious of people who weren't in my situation in the sense of like, oh man, I kind of wish I was just the guy who, wasn't playing in the game, who was watching because he's not dealing with this right now. That's how I knew I was nervous.
It
was like shy. It was like the slight desire to like shy away from the moment in a sense of like,
interesting. Like shy of,
not shy away from the moment, but it was like, I'm about to do something that's really crazy. My heart's beating right now. And I'm kind of envious of someone who's just enjoying their day right now. You know what I mean? Not that I don't like big moments or that I'm like scared of pressure, but like when I find myself drifting into that mental state where it's, man, why couldn't I just be a normal person who doesn't try to do all these crazy things? Like, why can't I just be satisfied with not doing, like, why can't I just be cool with being average? That's when I know I'm nervous for something. That doesn't mean I don't want to do it. And it doesn't mean that I want to be average or that I would rather be in their shoes. But that's just kind of how I identify, okay, I'm nervous for this. Like, you know, start second guessing yourself a little bit. And I think everyone does that. That's just kind of my way of interpreting it. But then I always know, like, every single thing that I've ever done in my life that I thought was a growth area or a lesson learned, I was always nervous for it. So now I'm like excited to be nervous because I'm like, I know this is going to be awesome. And life with no nerves, life with no competition is just boring and unfulfilling to me.
That's weird. I've had that once in a while, especially like in jiu-jitsu. If I haven't been in there for a while, I'll be on the sidelines and I'll be like, oh, I don't know how to do this warm up. I don't remember how this movement is supposed to work. I'm just completely out of it. And then like my brain will shut down. But that's interesting. I identify it, but I didn't really know.
You don't ever find yourself like, man, why can't I just be one of those guys in the gym right now lifting weights, not worrying about this?
I usually have that like before I go to sleep. Like all the doubts that I have just like start pouring in. Like, is this actually worth it? Did I do everything well? And then I realize I probably didn't drink enough water today.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
But what you said about being the desire to be the desire to be on the sidelines, to not be in the action. I don't know if I would ever say I had that, but it is something that I don't know. It's like a 10% thing that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's desire. I wouldn't say it's desire. It's more of just like
envy. Oh, you said envy.
There's just like, I don't know. I don't want to frame it like.
Frame it however you want.
You know what I mean? Just finding myself thinking about like, why can't I be comfortable not doing these things?
Why can't I be comfortable?
Yeah. For example, you're going to jiu-jitsu class, right? You're about to have a crazy day of jiu-jitsu and you're kind of nervous for it. But you see those guys in the gym, right? They're in the comfort, they're working out, but they're just lifting weights like they've always been. Like they don't have that. Like if you didn't go to jiu-jitsu, I'm sure you'd feel some kind of like, wow, I need to go. Like I'm missing out. And those guys, they don't have that in this situation, right? So you're walking in to go be the man in the arena. And some people don't even have that natural fire. And sometimes I'm just thinking like, because when you go to be the man in the arena, which, not saying that like going to jiu-jitsu class or doing these things that make us nervous are super crazy or like we're him or whatever. But like it's doing things that are putting us outside of our comfort zone. And like a lot of people coming on a podcast and having this conversation is like, whoa, I don't want to be filmed. I don't want to be recorded. I don't want to be in a situation where I can say something stupid without really thinking about it. But we want to do this for whatever reason. Like we're down to open ourselves up to.
Yeah, I've done enough. Like people, like my personality is on the internet.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're down, right? Some people they don't even have the desire. So I just go in and think it's like, why do I have this and other people don't? And like, is their path better? No, it's absolutely not better because they're not challenging themselves or growing. But that's just kind of how I know I'm nervous is when I start drifting off into like, what is it like to be that person who doesn't?
I don't disagree with you. I think the reason why I don't have it is because my introspection is always back on myself. And it's like, yes, they're doing their thing, but that's their life. It's like, that's their timeline. Like, I wish I could be lifting weights. I wish I knew, like, I had the not the discipline, but the motivation to want to be in the gym and like just pump weights and like bulk up and not look like a stick. But at the same time, like I don't like jiu-jitsu is a mental, it's a mental thing. Like when I'm not thinking about all the stuff I have to do for the podcast, I'll be doing jiu-jitsu, which keeps the way I'm thinking constant, like continuously working, but in a different aspect. So it's still the same thing, it's just different. And then when I look at other people, it's like, oh, well, that's the way they like to think. Especially like a lot of gym people, for whatever reason, I can't relate to them. Like most of the time for like conversations.
Like the gym bros?
Yeah. I mean, they're great people. Don't get me wrong. Wonderful people. It's just like once I start talking to them, it's like their brain is wired differently. And it's like, I guess, I don't know. I never thought of being nervous.
That's interesting.
Fear is definitely a big thing, but not nervousness.
How do you separate the two? Because I would say nervous for me is rooted out of fear. Like I don't distinguish fear and nerves that much because I feel nervous when I'm scared.
Well, then how do you define being scared? If there's fear and nervousness, but fear is also being scared, and nervousness is the possibility of being scared. Because nervousness is not like, it's not a current.
I think for me, nerves is being scared. Scared of failure, scared of injury, scared of something going wrong, like whatever it is. I would say like I feel nervous when I'm scared, and I feel scared when there's fear in the picture.
So you have like a 3-step. There's fear, which then makes you scared, which then makes you nervous.
Yes. What's your process?
I guess I'm not scared and I'm not nervous. So I think that
But you're afraid?
I'm fearful. Yeah. I'm fearful of the possibility, and that's it.
But that doesn't make you nervous.
Doesn't make me nervous.
Then what
Because if
how do
I'm-
you define feeling fear?
I would define fear as the possibility that this will hurt me. Not the actual, kind of going into what I remember. Now, I could be wrong about this, but I think there was a study done during after the Boston Massacre, Boston Marathon bombing, where they took a poll of people who watched the bombing and the people who were actually in the bombing. And they found that the people who were watching had more aftershock than the ones who were actually there. And
Do you mean watching on TV?
yeah, watching on TV, like watching the thing unfold, like over the days, like news coverage and everything, that the people watching were more afraid or more like had more higher levels of sensitivity to that topic than the ones who were actually there. And I think that comes down to the perception. Well, there's also the other idea, which is that 90% of things that you think will happen never happen, and the 10% that do aren't as bad as you think it were when it comes to being scared of things. So I think my fear is not on, so my big 3 fears is fear of failure, fear of complacency, and fear of abandonment. But that's also, it's like, those are also the things that once I do more of that, I'm not as fearful for it. Like the more I talk to people, my fear of abandonment goes down. The more I get stuff done, that dopamine hit helps me become less fearful of failure. And then the more consistent I'm with that, I'm not as complacent. So it becomes just like, I guess, intrinsic, not intrinsically. What was the word they used earlier? Introspectively.
Introspectively, yeah.
Introspectively, when I look at what do I have to get done and how can I use whatever I'm scared of, and that would be being scared. But I'm not scared. When I think of scared, I think of like a jump scare, or a thriller movie or something, like a horror movie, like something that's I wasn't expecting and is like completely not something that would happen in reality. And then fear is something that can happen in reality, but may not actually happen. But I also do everything that I can to prevent that from happening. And then being nervous is like that in between where it's like, I don't know if it's reality and I don't know if it's gonna, like, let's say, you've seen those videos where like people will dress up in clown suits and like pop up in the middle of a sidewalk at night and like stare at someone who's walking by. That would be being nervous, I guess. But that would also be part of my situational awareness that like when it's nighttime, I don't go to bars. I don't go anywhere that I'm like, oh, would I be in a place of potential danger if I was here? If that makes sense.
I used to do, when I was growing up, I used to walk home in the dark as much as possible because I did it one time when I was in high school. When I was a freshman or sophomore, I walked home from one of my friend's houses in the middle of the night, not that far of a walk. And I was so scared of all the unknown. You know what I mean? Like, you're so scared. Walking in the middle of the night, you're like 14 or 15 and you're terrified because your brain's thinking like, am I going to get murdered? Am I going to get, just all the what could go wrong as your brain starts freaking out. And I remember laying in bed that night and being like, I was so scared of that. Like, if I'm scared of that, I'm cooked. Because if I can't walk home without like walking with some confidence and like turning the things off of what could go wrong. Because I think the what could go wrongs are important, but it can overpower your brain. And it's like you just get with destabilizing inaction because you're thinking about what could go wrongs. I wanted to teach my brain how to identify the what could go wrongs and keep them like as a known, but not let it overpower me. Because in the walk, I was overpowered by it. I was like essentially trembling in fear, walking down the street for like 10 minutes. And I was like, if that keeps happening to me, I'll never be able to achieve anything, because anything that I want to be ambitious about or go for, the what could go wrongs are going to be super powerful. But I can't give them that power. Because like, you definitely need to, you don't want to be walking around with headphones looking on the ground. Like, what if you get jumped and thinking nothing's going to happen to me? Like, that's not the way to go about it. You need to have the balance. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to walk home every single time now. And then within a few years, I literally just enjoy walking home in the dark. Like, I'm aware of my surroundings. I'm not scared at all. And I'm in a safe neighborhood. Like, I wouldn't be down to do this in a
In a ghetto.
In the ghetto. but it taught me how to overcome fear, and it taught me how to analyze like what was scaring me. So then it was like, all right, I'm gonna go walk, and it taught me that I enjoy attacking my fear and my problems. A lot of people most people would say, I never want to walk home in the dark again. You know what I mean? Most people I know would do that. It's like, whoa, that was scary. That was not fun. But to me, I was like, I want to do that more. It's a practice ground for me to challenge myself. And it's a small thing walking home in the dark in the suburbs. But
at that point, it's not like I'm not in danger. I am the danger.
I am the danger. My brain fabricating danger is the danger. So can I beat that, or am I going to lose to it? Because I'm always going to feel that, no matter whether I want to walk home, whether I want to go do this thing, whether I want to start this company, whether I want to go travel over here and experiment. You know what I mean? That thing is going to turn on. And so I wanted to, instead of putting myself in situations where it doesn't turn on, react to it well.
That's, I guess, essentially just training the amygdala. Yeah. So that you're not as fearful of the things that...
Is that the amygdala?
I think so. The emotional center. Like, don't quote me on it, but if I remember correctly, the amygdala is the first thing every stimulus goes through before it gets through to your prefrontal cortex, which is where the fight, flight, or freeze comes in. So when someone freezes mentally or in a state of shock, that's usually their amygdala just overriding the brain's function, which is a safety thing. It's like, oh, a bear is coming at me. What do I do? Stand in place? No, you're gonna run away, or actually no. I think you're supposed to play dead when a bear comes or something like that, because bears are gonna start attacking you. It's a chase. But yeah, training the amygdala, and then like at some point when I realized, I started doing situational awareness when I was like 10, just because it was like, does that person have a gun? Does this person do this? It's like just being hyper aware of my surroundings, and now I just do it naturally because if it works. But at some point, like training the amygdala to realize that not 100% of the time I'm in danger, but that 0.00001% of the time where I need my alarms to be triggered, I'll keep that awareness up. Even if I'm in a pretty comfortable place, or if I feel safe, I always have that small little thing in the background. It's like, make sure the door's locked, or make sure this person's not in the weird spot, or just make sure whoever's walking by is not someone who looks like a creep.
And it's great to have that. It's great to have that awareness and be able to channel it. Say, there's a slight threat potential over there, but I'm not going to sit here and let it consume my mind. But I'm aware of it. In case like something happens, I can act kind of quick, and I know like how I should respond if someone does come in the door. But I'm not going to sit here and think, oh my God, like is someone going to come in the door? You know what I mean? And I think that's a distinction that a lot of people don't recognize in their brains and make. They either just avoid feeling that at all costs, as in like, I don't ever want to be in a situation where I'm scared of something, which just leads to a lot of problems because then you're not going outside your comfort zone. Or it's, I'm going to assume that nothing bad will ever happen to me because I'm like the chosen one, or nothing, you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to happen to me, so I'm just going to ignore it. So when the problem does come, I'm totally not ready and I get wrecked. You know what I mean? It's about finding that balance.
And the nice thing is that I've gotten to the point where I'm now, because there's also being able to analyze people's implicit communication with that situational awareness, that now, like whenever I see a friend of mine who looks like they're under the weather, like they're not doing well, I usually like, now my situational awareness is my surroundings safe, but is also my people that I know safe. But like not physically safe. Like I don't care if they're physically safe. If you got a knife in your body, I don't care. I want to make sure that you're emotionally safe. Like blood's trickling down your body. Yeah, that's fine. Are you emotionally okay?
Yeah. So you're very empathetic.
Unfortunately, yeah, it sucks.
That's a good thing.
I know.
That's a good thing.
But it's also I'm sarcastic.
Yeah, I know. I can tell. So am I. I think sarcastic is good. I think sarcasm is my favorite form of humor.
Yeah,
it's funny.
But also sometimes you can
the
be
joke
overly...
you made was, and when I walked in, was super quick-witted.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious.
Which one?
I tried to shake your hand, and you were like, "Oh," you had something in your hand. You're like,
"Oh yeah,
you're like, just pee or just piss." Just kept walking. I was like, "That was a good one." I was like, "I need to use that one."
Well, I got that from Dave
because I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, jiu-jitsu is not the best for any jokes whatsoever, except for the bad ones. And I always keep the bad ones.
I have a high respect for quick-witted, off the cusp humor.
Well, yeah, it's the easiest way for me to de-escalate the situation.
Yeah.
Like, oh, whatever ice broke, nothing you can do can get worse than what I did. So I've already lowered the bar, so we can only work from here.
That's great. That's good strategy. I know I need to use that one.
And I just do it subconsciously, just because, like, I guess when it comes to both situational awareness as well as like meeting people I don't know very well, is what can I do to make you smile, and then play with that. Like once I get a laugh or a cackle or whatever, just whatever gets you to whatever breaks that ice without having to break the ice. Like I'm still like making sure that you don't like pull out a knife and be like, hey, like I'll still keep that awareness, but now it's like I've set the bar so low, there's probably not gonna be a threat. And also see what your reaction is to things that, like, I know a lot of people have like a professional mindset and a personal mindset, where like professionally and like especially the corporate world, they'll have like one facade of a mask, and where that with everyone would be like, oh yeah, I care, but I don't actually care.
Right.
And then they have their personal life, which is like, oh, you actually do care. You are a human being. You just have to put a mask on for work, which I've always hated. But if I say something that's completely unhinged, they can't go on their professional side. I won't let you because I don't want to see that. I want to see who you are. And if you are bad, I don't want to talk to you.
I like it. I respect good humor.
I'm so sorry. So you said you were 70-30 logical.
Yeah.
How do you, would you say it's 70-30 logical, but you understand your emotional side very well? Or is it 70-30 logical, you're very so invested in the logical side of it that your emotions are just like a byproduct that you sometimes look at?
In terms of handling myself or dealing with other people? Because I kind of distinguish
I can
between
do
the two.
too. You can explain both.
Dealing with other people, I'm very empathetic and I'm hyper aware of their emotions.
Okay.
A lot of people might not, who know me well, might kind of be surprised that I said that. But I think that's what makes me a good business leader, or someone who's in the progress of becoming a good business leader, and just like an overall leader as a whole. Like that's my goal, is to be a good leader. I don't think I am a very good one now, but I think I'm on track to become one. But I'm very aware of the people around me, their emotions. The reason I said logical is because like I try not, I'm naturally I'm hyper aware of it. Like I just want people to feel kind of like, like I want people to feel like they're, contributing, they're all good, everything's fine. And they're in a mental position to like execute and do a good job. But I feel it so strongly that I push back more on the other side. Because I think that the logic is more important, and the right thing to do is to make the logical decision. And then over time, like dealing with that empathetic side, I think comes down to like, how well can you communicate? How well can you show people that you understand what they're feeling, but like you need to go against like their feelings to make the decision that's best. But like, that's okay to do that, but you still need to communicate that people's voices are being heard, that their emotions are understood. It's not just like, this is what we need to do. And like, I don't care what you think. It's like, hey, I'm acknowledging that you feel this way. And like, here's the compromise we're going to make. Here's why it's going to be like this in the short term, but like over time it's going to change, and like we're going to balance it out. It can't, when I think of logic, I just think of like putting people's emotions aside and just making the right choice. I think true leadership is ultimately still choosing the logical option, but getting the people around you who might have different emotions towards the decision to invest into it, and to make them know that like their gripes about it, the things that they don't want to buy into, the things that they don't want to do, like even though you're kind of insinuating they have to do them, it's like making them understand why they have to do it, not just you need to do this because I say so and this is the best thing. It's like, you need to understand why we're doing this. You need to understand why we're disregarding your feelings right now, and like why we're going to make an effort to get your feelings back into the mix as time goes on, if that makes any sense.
That makes sense. Do you have mentally, do you have a separation between emotions and feelings? Or are they like in your mind just synonyms?
To me, they're synonyms. Maybe if I've never pondered on that question before or thought about it, but to me, off the cusp, they're synonyms. Yeah. Like if I were to say I have strong feelings or I have strong emotions, I could use them interchangeably.
Do you prefer being efficient or being effective? Or that also
Efficient, 100%.
How do you define efficiency?
Time management. That's how
And that ties into like productivity.
Yeah, just time management, doing things quickly. Like my goal is to respond in business settings. I try to respond as fast as possible because I view that as efficiency. And that doesn't mean giving someone BS answers and saying, because I want to respond fast. That could mean, hey, I don't know the answer, but I'm going to get back to you at this time. I'll respond by tomorrow. And if I can't respond, it's, hey, I'm still looking into this, taking longer than I thought. It's just I consider that efficiency because you're providing information. You're actively trying to do the thing that you said you're going to do. It's like, hey, someone texts you, can you look into this for me? Don't respond for 3 days. Oh, sorry, whatever. I don't respect that. I don't like that. Like you respond very fast, and I really respect that. Yeah. It just shows me that you're on top of the game. You care. You're efficient. Like you were here. You know what I mean? Like that's efficiency. I just don't know how I can separate, because you're not efficient if you're not being effective. Like if you do things really fast and you're managing your time well, like you're blocking off your day properly, but everything you're doing is like worthless and whatever. I wouldn't consider you efficient. You're trying to be efficient, but you're not efficient.
The illusion of efficiency.
Yeah, you have the illusion of efficiency. I guess overall effectiveness is more important because like if you're going to do something right, but it takes you 3 days versus if you did it in 1 day and it's worse, it's worth it to probably take the 3 days because the end goal matters most, I guess. Yeah. But working with inefficient people is very frustrating. People just take so long. You know what I mean? Drag their feet. I'd rather someone who's ineffective, who's trying and like has capabilities of getting better. Because if you're inefficient, it's harder to make an inefficient, in my experience, harder to make an inefficient person efficient than it is to make an ineffective person effective.
Okay, can you expand on that?
If someone's inefficient, I think it's like rooted in its self-awareness. Like you're about to leave to go somewhere. Oh, let me get in the shower right now. You know what I mean? Like you can't really fix that about someone. But if someone's like really trying and they just kind of suck at something, like they, it's like, hey, write this or do this thing and they do it wrong and it's not good. But they're trying and like they're actually like being resourceful and looking things up before they ask questions and actually being like, I'm going to do my best, and so they're ineffective in that area. But you can make that person effective just by, and they can make themselves effective by like actively seeking out ways they can get better, learning, asking questions. They can become effective. But an inefficient person who takes so long, doesn't have that sense of urgency. I don't know if sense of urgency is something that you can teach. I think sense of urgency, to me, is kind of a synonym with efficiency. Without a sense of urgency, you're not efficient. So if someone doesn't have a sense of urgency, then there's nothing that you can do to make them urgent. But if someone's ineffective, you can help put parameters in place where they become effective as long as they're open to learning.
And that goes to like how you would add respect that you have for someone. Like that's one of the elements of
like I instantly have more respect for you because you respond fast and like answer questions. You know what I mean? Like just off the bat, because it just tells me you care. You're on top of things. You're like honest. That's just what it tells me. You put thought and time.
Yeah. There's also the other side to it, which is like when I'm doing like podcasts or something, or like I've dedicated my time for someone. There's also the other side, which is like right now my phone's on do not disturb. Like I don't want to hear anyone else other than my family if anyone sends me a text. So it's also, I guess and
that's something I struggle with for sure. I take so much value in responding fast. I'm like, business is it's 24/7. Not that you're working all the time, or not that you're working even an insane amount, but like things always pop up. You got to be able to respond. So like I'm always kind of like, where's my phone? Like my phone's over there right now, but like I'm always kind of like, and I care so much about what's going on my phone that I want to look at it. I want to know now. If there's a problem, I want to know now and I want to fix it now. But like if I'm spending time with my girlfriend or my mom, like it's not good to just be like, because 90% of the time it's nonsense. You don't need to attend to it right now, but I want to know. So I definitely need to learn how to be okay with like putting the phone down and just checking out for a little bit and being more present instead of always thinking like, how can I make this better? How can I optimize this? How do I, make this person think I'm respectable? Boom, boom, boom.
I think that's just like things will happen like that people will see you both at like, I responded 3 seconds. Also, I responded 2 hours. But I think ultimately it would come down to like whenever I'm working or something, sometimes I'll like constantly go on my phone, just check everything, and I get obsessed with that. So I just put it in my briefcase and just be like,
I'm hyper addicted to my phone. Yeah. Hyper addicted to my phone.
Obviously means that you care. And that itself is better than saying, oh, because I know there's one person who he said that he ghosts all these girls, like he's in his 30s, but that he goes on that like whenever he's like talking to girls or something, like dating or whatever, he would like intentionally not talk to them to give, I guess in a sense, give that.
It was a dating strategy thing.
I don't know. I didn't expand on it just because I thought it was pretty stupid, I hope he doesn't watch this video because that's not gonna be very nice.
I'll have to go back and
no, I'm gonna keep this in the edit. Like I'm not editing else, but it's fun to say it. I think there's definitely like that some people intentionally do that because they want to get this like almost like social manipulation, like, oh, I care, but I don't care too much.
Yeah, right. That's the whole dating game is crazy now.
Yeah, which I don't understand. It's like, I do care, but if I'm invested in one thing, I will get this done so that when I talk to you, like I will give you 100% of my attention. Unless it's like a stupid meme on Instagram or something. It's like, okay, I'll give you like 10% of my attention. Haha, that was funny. Reaction, leave. so it's kind of it's like it's good that you care and you're not doing it towards like bad ends, right? It comes down to intentions. Are you intentional about caring, or are you intentional about having the perception of caring? But I did want to circle back to what you were saying earlier. How would you define respect?
I think mostly is just doing the things you say you're going to do, and also being able to like to make a play. As in, when I say make a play, I mean like you don't need to micromanage anyone. And I don't just mean in business. I mean just in life. It's like they can just go, whatever the situation is, they can just go, like, I trust them to just go take care of it. Like, I respect that person. You know what I mean? You don't need anyone to babysit them. If they can't figure something out, their instinct isn't to cry. It's to at least try to figure it out. So I would say being clutch. I always compare it to like to sports, you know. Would I trust this person to make a free throw? Like, would I trust the player to make a free throw? I think you can apply that to all kinds of life. It's like, whether that's talking to someone and like facilitating the situation or whatever it is. So I think like being able to make a play and then doing what you say you're going to do. So if you tell me you're going to do something, you do it. Or you communicate why you can't do it ahead of time. Don't just say, oh, I didn't do it. And obviously that happens to us all. Like, there's definitely plenty of things I've said I'm going to do and I don't do it. But I really try to do the things I say I'm going to do. And if I can't do them, I think it's totally understandable. Just communicate it. Don't just not say anything, not do it, and then be like, oh, it might be. That I always lose respect for people when they do that. And I lose respect for myself because I do it too. But it's something I'm aware of.
Communicating, but mostly being reliable.
Yeah, being reliable.
Just being someone that people can lean on when they need it.
Yeah, so when I say making clutch play, I would define that as that's being reliable is what I mean. I can rely on you to go do that thing.
What would you do in situations where there's miscommunication that you don't know that it's being miscommunicated, but that the other person is expecting you to get back to you on?
What do you mean?
So let's say something was planned or something was like in the works, like, oh yeah, we can do that in the future. But like there wasn't enough information on their end to tell you, or that you didn't know that you were supposed to do something on your end. But then now there's a unknown sense of friction between you and that person on like you don't know exactly what they're going for, but you also don't know what you need to do. But at the same time, you don't even
something was communicated. They're expecting you to do something. You're not aligned with the expectation. And then, so they're thinking you're going to do something, and you might or might not know that they want you to do something. And even if you do know, you don't know what the thing is exactly. And then it ends up not happening, and now there's friction.
Yeah, and the fact that it's not happening is now becoming a sense of friction. Like, they're not talking to you, or they don't want to talk to you as much. And it's like, is that just like apologizing for something, or just asking a question? Like,
I would probably default to asking questions first. I wouldn't apologize unless I thought the apology was worth it. As in, like, if you did a terrible job communicating it, or you didn't say something you assumed that it was. And there's times when it's perfectly fine to assume someone's going to do something. And if they don't do it, you can be mad. So my default wouldn't be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry you're mad. I'm so sorry. It would be like, why are you mad? And then if I came to the conclusion that they had like even a slightly rational reason for being mad, I would apologize. But I would say like, hey, I'm sorry, but this was my thinking. So I'm not super sorry. And I'm not going to sit here and beg you to like not be mad at me anymore. I'll say I'll apologize because I understand from your perspective X, Y, Z happened. I didn't catch that even though I should have, but see my perspective. Like, this is how we could have communicated better. And then I think that'll lead to a better understanding from both sides. That's an interesting question. Did you come up with that one on your own?
Yeah, it's something that I'm trying to figure out how to solve. So that's the thing about podcasts. Like, once in a while, I'll just tie in like some problem that I'm having and see if like, what's your perspective on it? I mean, what you said, I was already thinking about. I guess that would be nervousness. I'm just too nervous to like, to try to, because like, I don't want that friendship to break, but I also don't want to put them in an uncomfortable position where it's like, oh, it was all on you.
So is the friction about to happen, or is the friction currently happening?
Currently happening. That I think is happening, but I don't want to do it.
So you don't want to acknowledge it because what if it's not? It's weird.
Right.
Okay.
Which is,
so you're right now, you're not necessarily in the situation we discussed, because the situation I discussed, there was known friction. But right now you think there's friction.
Yeah, perception of friction.
But you don't know if they perceive the same.
Right.
So you might make things weird.
Or that I actually did something worse that now like I don't want to hurt them. Like, I might have hurt them already, and now I don't want to take that a step further and like now seem like I'm attacking them.
So what was your default? You haven't made a decision yet?
Inaction.
Inaction.
It's
Inaction.
like just patience.
Inaction.
Yeah.
Is that where the fear of abandonment comes from?
No, I think the fear of abandonment is different. This is like fear of
it sounds to me like, yeah.
This is more I don't want to hurt the person anymore, assuming that I did. Like by default,
yeah.
I assume that I've hurt someone intentionally or unintentionally, and that I don't know how to go with it, because if I say one more thing, then that might have been the thing that hurt them in the beginning, and I don't want to hurt them again.
Interesting. But you don't even know if you hurt them in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just a thing. I'm 21. I don't have to worry about it too much, because I mean, it's not like a big problem. It's just like a minor inconvenience. It is someone I care about, but not something that like...
You guys will get through it.
Yeah. And it's fine. You know, things like that happen. It's like perfectly fine. Not worry about it. One of the things here that kind of ties into is forgiveness, which I think you touched on before, and being aware of the things that you don't know. Has there been any time in any of like the relationships that you've been where, as hard as it was, that you had to forgive someone?
No, not to a serious degree, but I am definitely a big believer in forgiveness. Like off the top of my head, I don't think of any scenarios where someone really wronged me. And actually, I guess it depends on how you define forgiveness. I don't define forgiveness as letting someone back in your life, or, you know, not cutting them off, or like, I define forgiveness as like, I forgive you for what you've done. Like you don't have rent in my head. You don't like, I don't think of you with hatred. I don't give energy to you in like what you did. That, you know, forgiveness to me is like the Christian principle of forgiveness, which is, you know, you make a lot of mistakes and you expect, or you hope that God forgives you. You believe God forgives you. Like forgive those as you would forgive. That doesn't mean you become best. Like I'm envisioning, you know, your significant other cheats on you, and then it's like, do you forgive them? I think you probably should forgive them, and because it'll rot you if you don't. They'll have so much, you know, rent and power in your head. You'll always be thinking about them. You'll always be kind of like, man, like you'll always like think back to that time with, you know, resentment, which takes energy up and occupies your brain. It's like, forgive them. They made a mistake. Like that doesn't mean I'm going to date them again or trust them again, but I forgive them. So I don't have any specific times. Luckily, I haven't been in that situation, thankfully. And hopefully I'm never not. We're to the point where I need to struggle with forgiving someone who committed an atrocity against me. But that's my view on forgiveness overall.
Yeah. Well, that has to do with you are what you attract.
Yeah.
If like you have a very calming complexion, that some people who do things, who do not have that same level of partially the discipline, but also the same sense of security, they're not going to be attracted to you. They're like, oh, you're too stable. Whoa. Which is fine. I mean, people have their own ways of living. I just don't know where to go with that. I was hoping something in my brain would make a connection. Is there anything specific that you wanted to talk about?
What's your take on alcohol?
I don't drink alcohol.
Why not?
I know a lot of people that I respect who drink alcohol. Hey, I don't really care, but I've not met someone who drinks alcohol who doesn't have something, kind of like people who also do like nicotine patches or something. There's like always something like partially brain fog, but something about them that doesn't click properly. Like it's like when you're driving stick shift, it's like you let off the clutch a little bit too fast, or you didn't do it fast enough. It's like it's just not punching in. I would say the same thing about caffeine. The only thing is caffeine is also in coffee, so I don't see it as like a negative. But like if someone has too much caffeine, like 200, 300 milligrams a day, that I'm like, whoa, that's too much. But like regardless of the day, I can drink an energy drink and I can still get the same amount of efficiency that I like to have. But specifically to alcohol, I don't have, it's like heroin or like cocaine or anything. I have no interest in pursuing that. And also looking at like, if you go to a bar or something, most of the people there aren't of like the best of quality. Now, if it's like, there's also like alcohol where it's like like at home with a room of friends or something, and it's not like we're drinking ourselves drunk. That's also fine, like making it a social interaction. But most of the time people go to bars, and those people, like, I don't like that kind of environment. My situational awareness goes through the roof. And so personally, alcohol is not exact. Like, I don't mind the people who do. I don't see it as bad as like cocaine or anything, right. But I just don't, like, I wouldn't do that myself.
Interesting. So you only make that association with someone being slightly off when they're doing it to an extreme. Like if someone, like you said, nicotine, let's say someone smokes a cigar once a month. Do you put them in the same bucket as a person who does nicotine?
No, like cigarettes or cigars is I see like a premium cigarette, which is fine.
But then they use it, but they're not a frequent user, and it's not like a part of their personality.
Well, that's fine. People will live their life the way they want to.
You're referring to like pretty intense users of these substances, like someone who goes to the bar every weekend and actually gets super hammered, and is like, or someone who always needs to have a Zyn pouch in their mouth.
Yeah, I think that would probably like I don't have to have an energy drink if I didn't want to. Like I'm not addicted to it. I depend on it, but I'm not addicted to it. Like I could go 3 days without it. The only problem is I won't be as productive. But when it comes to like alcohol, as of right now, I haven't had a reason to drink. Like there's nothing, like my life isn't so bad that I need something to wane off. Like I haven't, the way I live right now is way better than 99% of the world. Actually, probably like 99.9% of the world, just because like I can eat. I don't have to worry about not living under a roof at night. Like I don't have a reason to take the stress away, because I know there's a good friend of mine who said that he thrives on stress, and he's a powerhouse. He's like 75, almost, I think maybe 76 now. Powerhouse. Like he's still working on cars, still trying to figure things out. He's just
76 years old?
76 in dog. Yeah. He's so, like, I respect him beyond anything else, because he's 76, but if he says he's going to be there at 4 a.m, he's going to be there at 4 a.m. If he says he's driving all night and he's going to be there tomorrow to help you with something, he will get like 2 hours of sleep and be there to help you. Even if he's not in the best mental condition, he will be there to get it done. Like that's reliability. Does he drink? Yeah, of course. That doesn't make him a worse person. It's just personally, I don't have, and I'm not saying that he's had his stuff and everything, and he's still a great guy regardless. Just at this point, I don't have a reason to escape reality. I'd rather overstimulate my body with caffeine and say, okay, how can I make this world even worse? And just like completely delve into whatever I need to. Like, I guess that goes back to pain, fear, and nervousness. Like, I know I'm scared of it. I know I need to get it done. Which is more important? Getting it done, because now I won't be scared of it anymore. Sure. And the next time I do it, I've already done it before. So now I have the history of I've completed this before. Let me just do it again.
Yeah.
And then just constantly having the self-awareness, like editing is a pain in the butt.
Yeah, terrible.
But when I first started doing this, I did both long form and short form editing, which took like double the time. But now I don't do short form. I just focus on long form, so I can do more videos. But my mind is still stuck on that previous thing of so let's say a 2-hour podcast takes 4 hours to edit. But then there's also uploading, there's rendering, there's a bunch of other stuff. So from I finished this edit to it's on YouTube might take 15 hours, most of which the computer's doing it. I don't have to worry about it. I just have to make sure I keep that running. So 15 hours. But then also, if I add short form editing, that's another 5 hours, because it's not just the short form, it's doing that 22 times on 20, let's say 15 times, 15 different videos, making sure the subtitles are right, they're the right words, there's no uhs or like filler words inside, that the timing is right, the cuts are good. That itself takes another, let's say 4 hours. So we're at what, 15-ish hours so far, and it's like over a couple of days. So it's like I can't do other stuff while I'm doing editing. I have to focus on that 100%. So 15 hours plus exporting those, putting them on the right platforms, putting descriptions, putting I don't really worry about the thumbnails, but making sure like it gets posted, gets put on the right platforms, right people are tagged if it's on Instagram or something. So say about 20 hours. If I just focus on the long form edit, that takes about 5 hours. And then of course the computer does most of the work, but so my mind is like, it used to take 20. Now I'm just focusing on 5. I could get more done. So I'm like, now I'm have to force myself back into, okay, this is not going to take a lot longer. It's actually going to take a pretty short time. Then get it done.
So what's the trade-off of not having of not focusing on short form anymore?
Intent. Because when you're doing short form content, it's very dopamine driven. People want that like quick, on the spot. I need that little bit of dopamine because dopamine is what keeps people going. if I remember correctly, dopamine is the reason, is like every time you make a connection in your brain, like, oh, this person, like women are very good at making connections when it comes to like relationships stuff. Like that person did this at that time. We're able to get that done when it comes to relationships. Like that's valuable information. And you get into this like flow of like, this goes into kind of like flow state, like the right neurons firing at the right time, making those connections. Dopamine gets spurt for every single time. Now, social media exploits that by having so much dopamine, like look, a dog, and then it's like F-35, let's go, right? So you get everything, and then of course like girls dancing and all that junk. But for the most part, short form content is dopamine, completely dopamine. Long form content requires time, it requires attention, and it requires like retention of like, oh, do I actually want to commit 2 hours to this podcast episode? Now, most people do it, like a lot of people do it when they're driving or stuff, but now, whatever. So I like in terms of fulfillment, yes, I don't get the same reach as I used to, but I do feel more fulfilled when I finish the long form because I can get more episodes out.
But what about how do you attract new viewers though? Because is your goal to get this in the ears of random people? If so, what's the strategy with long form? Because I would think short form, yeah, totally dopamine driven. I agree with everything you said, but if you can attract one out of every 100 dopamine scrollers to your long form, that's a W, right?
But also podcasts are not dopamine driven. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'll expand on that. Podcasts are very much like a serotonin boost because it's a conversation. It's just two voices. There's no cuts. There's not like different visuals and everything. Like one of the biggest things that keep, like when you're talking about like Cleo Abram or Marcus Brownlee, when you call like those like 20 million subscriber ones to get like a couple million per video every time they upload, those people have like one of the main things when it comes to videos is visual cues or visual hooks. So every single time you keep someone looking at something, I'm looking at this, I'm looking at that, I'm looking at that. Here's a statistic, here's this, here's that. All right, just keeps the mind occupied, and it's like, whoa. And it's really good for storytelling. But when it comes to podcasts, it's just voice. It's just two people talking. And that requires attention, but also requires that serotonin boost of like, oh, these two, I agree with this. What else do they have to say that I don't know? And that's the problem. Like the first, like when it comes to big podcasts like Diary of a CEO, which has like, I think almost 10 million subscribers on YouTube, which is a lot since they've only been doing it for like 5 years. In the very beginning of their episodes, they always have like a summary. Like they have like, we talk about this topic, talk about that topic, this emotion comes out. There's this uncomfortable pause, right? They have the backstory, a lot of different voices. They exploit that dopamine need, but then it becomes a podcast, just two people talking. So finding viewers is more of, let me get people who other people are interested in talking to. And then most likely they'll also promote the video because people like to see themselves on camera, especially if they look half decent. Like, don't worry about me. Make sure that you look good because I'll look good in any other video. Probably not. But the main thing isn't to say, because once you trust someone, now you'll be like, oh, that's a pretty good podcast. That's a pretty good video. Like that was a really good insight about this person that I didn't know before. And I don't get a lot of feedback on my podcast, but when I do, it's usually, you help me learn something about someone I already know, but more in depth. So it's like, oh, one step further. So now that relationship is a little bit better because now you're more informed.
So your reach right now is mostly the people that you interview, reposting it, sending it to them, saying, hey, watch me on the show.
Yeah. And most of those people are in their 40s or 50s. And they have like friends who they've known for years. And it's like, oh, I haven't seen this person in a while. I live 1,000 miles away, but now I can see that person on a podcast. And
so am I the youngest person that you've...
How old are you?
24. I just turned 24.
No. Tim Wallen is the first guy I've recorded, did like an official podcast with, and he's 6 days older than me.
Nice.
So he's the youngest guy, but youth, it doesn't really matter. It's just a matter of quality.
It doesn't sound to me like you're that, like you're in terms of running this operation, you're not ultra concerned with just like maxing viewership or whatever. You just want to put quality long form stuff out and attract people that you're going to attract.
Right. That's pretty much it. I can't focus on the people who don't know about my podcast just because there's a lot of podcasts and not all of them are worth the time. Yeah. Even like the first 10 minutes of this one might not be interesting to most people, but then when you get like halfway through, it's like the conversation develops, it becomes better. And I don't make a lot of, unless it requires it, I don't make any edits when it comes to like the way I edit is linearly. So it's like, we talk about this, but that's the way the conversation went. Instead of, oh, this was interesting, put that over here, move that. It's like, I don't want to artificially change something that's over time it develops. Over time, like the tonality goes down, it becomes more deep, becomes more introspective, but also ties into other things that we've talked about before. And that takes like, do you have 3 hours to spend? No. But if you want to, here's something about one that you probably will never see ever again.
Yeah, I have a ton of respect for podcasting and interviewing. I think asking questions and being able to derive the most interesting information out of someone is such a good skill. And I don't think most podcasters have it. Like a lot of them do. I find myself, I watch a lot of podcasts. I think it's very interesting. I guess I'm a serotonin guy. I never really knew the difference between serotonin and dopamine. I know
with your family or with your girlfriend or something, like there's usually a serotonin boost, but then it's like when you're on social media, it's usually dopamine.
I really like podcasts. That's why I was super down to come on this one. And I always find myself like thinking, oh, you should have expanded on that a little more. Or you should have asked this question. Like you just had such an interesting topic. You got 20% in and you just switched it to like a joke that's not funny. I always find myself like I know how hard it is. I always find myself being critical of these askers. Like my dream, if I could have any job that I wanted to, it'd be an interviewer of interesting people. Have access to, and I feel you probably want the same, as you said, understanding people's thoughts, like just being in a position where I can talk to the most interesting people in the world. So I think what you're taking the right steps, and like I hope you just don't quit. You know,
I don't have a choice.
Yeah, you don't have a choice.
I've invested way too much time and energy into this. Like there's no other plan. It's just this.
And what information do you set a goal? I want to, like when you're prepping for this interview, was there something like, this is the information I want to get? Or are you just like, I just want to figure out who you are and this is my framework of doing so?
I'll do a comparison between you and Dave. Dave, I did you know Dave, right? Okay. So Dave did his one, I think his got released January 10th. And that one, I think that was like a 4.5 hour episode where the production was 4.5, got it down to 3. When I researched Dave, I just was on the mats every day, on the sidelines, listening to how he talks, listening to different stories that he tells, and just writing a bunch of notes. I had like 5 pages of notes.
Just about his
personality, quotes that he says, because he says everything all the time. So I did all that. And then during the actual conversation, I barely talked. I maybe said like 20 things out of the 3.5 hours that got published. So not that was a problem. I just like froze up because
so that was that more so because of you, or was that because he was just like directing the conversation and just going all
most
over
of the time he was already hitting points I was going to ask him. So like he would be saying something and I would be like, okay, here's a question I want to ask. And then he answers the question before I have to ask it. And I'm like, okay, well, let me figure out something else. But also he's also very interesting. So I don't have to say anything. But as I've done more and more podcasts, I've realized that the best thing to do is, one, try to do a brainstorming session, understand who you are and like small little things, and see like, is there anything big that you want to talk about? Otherwise, just make it as conversational as possible and be myself. And if you don't like it, then we'll probably know in like 30 minutes because there'll be a lot of friction, and then just end it there. It's like, hey, this is not going where I thought it was. Do you want to just end it early? It's like, yeah. Right. It hasn't happened before, but I'm aware that it could happen.
So something that's interesting for me that I've learned about myself since being on this podcast in the last hour and a half is normally in typical conversations, I feel uncomfortable going on really long rants or like really diving. Because it's like, I'm not trying to sit here and talk about myself. I want it to be like, hey, I'll provide you with information, but I also want to know about your life, whatever. But the goal of a podcast is to derive long form conversations. Like that was probably the first time I've ever actually explained the origin of Gotchies before. Yeah. And I could have probably talked way more. You know what I mean? But it's because if someone asks me how you started, I'm not trying to sit there. Oh, let me tell you. Let me spend 20 minutes of your time talking about this when you're probably like,
well, you know
what I mean? So
you said you're the CEO of the company, so you have to do elevator pitches.
Yeah,
you have to get people's attention instantly because they're also busy with other things. So that makes sense.
And then I also want to show them that I care about their life. Like, hey, what's going on with you? I'm not trying to sit here and give you, but like for me, what I'm learning is podcasts are meant to really dive into subjects. It's like, I'm sure you're probably comfortable with me talking about it for 30 minutes if it actually had like a meaningful thing. You know what I mean? So like my instinct was just like, you know, give you the rundown, just ask you how you're doing, you know? So it was very new for me. And like, I didn't feel like I was that good at spending 30, 20 minutes really providing all this extra little details that make it actually truly interesting instead of just like quick updates, boom, boom, boom. So maybe that's something I learned about myself. Maybe like our takeaway for you is like most people don't have that experience of like truly diving out their thoughts or truly. So maybe as an interviewer / podcaster, you could like, I'm not saying you didn't do this, but like just thinking through like making sure people are really going into details. And it's like, hey, you know, like you're here to speak on things for 20 minutes.
That's the thing. So I do this with everyone that I meet with. Do I have 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Most of the time, I don't know if they have something planned an hour from now or if they have something planned 3 minutes from now. Right. So I'll ask questions and see how in depth they want to go on that, because people's minds will naturally be like, okay, what am I talking about? And how much in depth do I want to go with it? Because I have something planned 10 minutes from now.
Right.
So when it comes to podcasts like this, this is the only thing I'm going to be doing today. Only thing I didn't do any. Oh, I did a little bit of editing, but like I try to make sure I have as much cognitive resources that I can, so that when we're talking, it's like that's the only thing that takes up today. Like I don't have any other plans. If it gets canceled, that's fine. Like I'll figure out something to do in the meantime. But for the most part, most people don't have the time. But if they make the time, that's why like I'd say it might take 2 hours, it might take 3 hours. Like the expectation is that this is not just a 10-minute investment. That's like, okay, we're probably going to go on pretty deep topics. We're not just talking about me, but I've talked way too much on this podcast. Like this is really weird.
That's my fault. But that's because I'm super curious in your life. Like that's just how I am. I love learning about other people. I know that this podcast is like about the guest, and that's like just a strategy. But like I'm just really curious in how you're evaluating this conversation, what you're doing, because I'm learning from it. I enjoy asking questions, and I would say that's a fault of mine. Is like my natural strategy is always to push the conversation back to someone else and try to get them to explain it. But I'm trying to rewire that here, and it's like my job is to talk. My job is to explain to you my thought process, which I'm almost never in those situations.
Which is also, have you read How to Win Friends and Influence People? So that's one of the main points there, is that you have to get people to talk about themselves. Right. Because people love talking about themselves, especially the dumb ones. But there's also the other quote, which is, a wise man is someone who has to say something, whereas a fool is someone who who has something to say. No, the other way around. A fool is someone who wants to say something, and a wise man is someone who has something to say. It's intent. It's like, do I want to say something? Yes, but I also have to expand on it. I have to go on the tangents on that. Or do I just want to hear myself talk? And a lot of people who are on podcasts are not on there because they want to like communicate something or to like get someone else's perspective on it. They just want to hear themselves, which is fine. It doesn't cost that much to get a microphone. It doesn't cost much to do anything. But then again, you're probably not going to have a lot of podcast people, because they're going to realize it pretty quick. This is not worth my time.
Yeah, I'm the opposite end of that spectrum. I'm like, I would rather talk about the other person than me. But you brought up How to Win Friends and Influence. You've also brought up extreme ownership. I want to tell you my take on reading. I think you'll find it interesting. I've read How to Win Friends and Influence. I've read I consider this like cluster. This is how I think of people's reading journeys in our generation. I don't know if you can relate to this. Maybe you know someone who can relate to this, or a group of people. But we grow up, we're young, pre-phone, we're in elementary school. We love reading. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Harry Potter. Like we love reading all the books. Like we just love reading. And then middle school hits, phones come out. We get addicted to phones. We cancel reading. We just don't read anymore. It's boring. It's lame. Nerds read, whatever. I'd rather scroll on my phone. Get to about our age, like late 20s, you're like, yo, reading's kind of actually important. I actually enjoy reading. It's a nice refresher from like 5 years on the phone. And then most people, they all pick up like How to Win Friends and Influence, Extreme Ownership, 48 Laws of Power, negotiation books, like business books, like Your Next 5 Moves, like whatever. And then it's like, yeah, these are the books that I'm reading. I'm learning so much. My attitude was, I actually don't want to read those books. I've read How to Win Friends and Influence, and I think there's some value in them, but I consider reading to be so valuable, like almost the most valuable thing that you can do. And the reason that I don't put that much value on those books is because I think you can kind of extract information from those books just from living life. It's kind of common sense oriented, just from talking, just from experiencing, just from being a social person who's observant of the world. You can kind of extract that information. Are those some nitty gritty details in there? Yeah, for sure. But if I'm going to spend my time reading, I want to read information that I cannot get from observing the world or from talking to people, which is like huge biographies of people, just raw history. And I find, and then I find that I can apply, like I've read biography about Alexander Hamilton, Ulysses S. Grant. I'm currently reading a book right now about a politician from New York, and I'm learning all about state and city government. Like, this is information I would never know from just being a normal person in the world and over here. And then I can learn, and then I can get real insight, because I feel like those books portray it in like a perfect sense. It's
those books are more of understanding introspection, understanding, being self-aware, understand subtle cues, understand like your own mental state. Those are good beginning books. Like I've read How to Win Friends and Influence People when I was 12. And that completely changed the way I went through middle school, because I now like try to apply those as much as I could, and now they're all subconscious. So those are like, you're right. Those are books that are good for people who haven't gotten to that level. And then when you understand like this, the basic principles, make that subconscious, now you can apply those to like the more, because I know the people who are the best on the podcast are also readers. Yeah. People who listen, like my favorite biography is John Adams by David McCullough.
Really? John Adams? Yeah. That's interesting.
That is a very big book. It is so
How many
detailed.
Pages?
I don't keep track of the page count.
Like took you months to read type?
No, it took me like a couple weeks. It's a good read because it's very interesting. Actually, my favorite book is 1776, also by actually no.
So you're interested in the American Revolution time?
My dad's obsessed with the
That's
American
my favorite
Revolution
time period too.
Yeah. Those kind of books, like obviously I don't know the history. Plus, he has like a lot of references, a lot of like firsthand accounts of that time period. But I think the biggest thing is like when people don't understand who they are, those basic books are very fundamental. I've never really understood 48 Laws of Power. I think it's kind of weird.
Never read it. I'm kind of anti-reading it just because everyone always brings it up.
I always get the Cliff Notes, not the Cliff Notes version, but like the condensed version that they have, like, oh, this certain aspect of 48 Powers. Like, yeah, I like that. But I think you're right. Like most people, first of all, phones very much dopamine driven.
Yeah. Reading serotonin.
It's very, very much like pleasurable, but it takes more time. And that's the thing, like the fun stuff in life take more time to enjoy because it's a process.
Yeah. I put such a high value in reading. I don't have much time to read. So when I am going to read, I want to get information from the books that I cannot get from the world, which is history, getting as you said, super detailed information about a time period where I'm learning. Like you think of George Washington, you kind of think of in Alexander Hamilton and John Adams, you think of these like almost mystical like beasts who were just doing these things. Like when you really read about them, it's like, wow, they were super flawed. They were overcoming all these internal problems, just like we have. But the book isn't sitting here telling you like, this is how they overcame the problems. Like this is what you need to look out for in your own brain. It's more of like, you're just observing it so you can apply it, and you're getting so much history. So like when you come across someone who's interested in the American Revolution, like we could talk about it now. So my advice to my peers that I always like to say, whether it's good advice or bad advice, I don't know. But I always just say, if you're going to spend your time reading, which you probably don't have that much time to allocate towards it, try to just read things that you cannot get from observing reality.
I guess we can go on if you want to, the George Washington tangent, because a lot of his time in the revolution, like obviously the original thing, which is, I forgot the word itself, the French and Indian War.
Yeah, when he was in the British military and like learning his,
and then when he shot the French ambassador or something in the middle of the woods, like no one really talks about that, or they don't. Or there's also like John Adams is the reason why the Redcoats during the Boston Massacre got acquitted.
Really?
He was the lawyer during that trial.
Really?
Yeah, and that's why he was put into he went to the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia because he like. And HBO has a really good miniseries on John Adams, but basically, so he did that not because he was for the Redcoats or for the British or for the Americans. He didn't care. He believed that everyone has a right to a fair trial.
And he rooted that in America.
And that's why like a lot of people a part of the revolution, a lot of the his own people, like he didn't like what the British was doing, didn't like the taxes, didn't obviously everything America stands for. He's not a bad person. He just believes that the law should be applied to everyone, not because of what you believe, not because of your politics, but because you have the right to a fair trial. And that became like his staple, like, oh, you want to do this? It may not be agreed with everyone, but now you're a neutral party because you can't say, oh, you don't know what it's like. No, I saved these people, but I still care about my country.
That's crazy. That's great. And yeah, and that got rooted in American justice system.
George Washington, really good guy. John Adams, and then you have Thomas Jefferson, who wrote the Declaration of Independence, who like has a lot more popularity in that. It just comes down to like it's John Adams, and then he was also minister to France. He was minister. He was the first ambassador to Great Britain after the war, which is kind of like a weird position. It's like we were your colonies, and now I'm your ambassador. It's a weird, like John Adams has like probably the most least known, but also the most influential.
Yeah, you do in school. You do skip over John Adams. It's like George Washington, great leader, everyone loved him. He died. Then Thomas Jefferson. It was just like, whoa, who's number two? It's like this guy named John Adams. We don't care about him. Just skip over him. Is not relevant. I always think of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abe Lincoln. Like that's how I feel like we're taught to think about the structure of presidents.
George Washington was a really good guy. Thomas Jefferson is a really good guy. John Adams is like almost like the best person to be because he wasn't well known. He didn't become the most popular person that everyone knows today, but he's the one who got a lot of stuff done. And it's like the journey may not get the reward, but the journey is the best part.
What did he get done? What is he known for?
I think as a president, I think the worst thing he did as president was that he adopted Washington's cabinet because he thought that would keep the country together, even though now he has people who are not always who don't always like him. Then there was also the Senate that he was, because of vice president as a Senate, now he's a president. So it's like now there's like a big, so when you're the vice president, you're the president of the Senate. And then when you become president, but you're also vice president, it's like, okay, now you have this like weird, like you were legislative, now you have powers, like weird. I think the biggest thing he did was he was very stubborn. I think that's like his biggest quality, but he was always stubborn when he was right.
I feel like as an empathetic person, it's really hard to do that. It's hard to enforce your will. Even if you know you're right, if other people are telling you that you're wrong or like, hey, I don't think we should do this, you're going to default to like, okay, like I don't want to.
Well, that goes to the 76-year-old friend that I have. He he worked high up in multiple companies, and whenever someone was wrong, he never told them they were wrong. Like he would say that, but if they were really stubborn about it, he would have so much pleasure in watching them make the mistake themselves, and then them coming back and saying, you were right.
Yeah.
And most people don't admit that, but just like my stubbornness is, oh, I was right. I know I'm right. But if you need some more time to take it to understand that I'm right, that's fine. But I'm not going to I got other stuff to do.
So do you think about the founding fathers and the creation of America a lot in your...
Oh, no. This is the first time I thought about it in like a year.
Yeah.
But I haven't forgotten it. Well, I might have gotten some facts wrong, but...
I frequently apply a lot of lessons that I've learned in my life to them because they're very forward thinking. They didn't just want a country to survive now. They were thinking like, how can we set up this structure of government so in the future it can, because they knew it can adapt, which I think is very interesting. I think it's a great way to look at life. It's like, I need to have a good foundation now, but the foundation has to be very elastic and adaptable. And they were goats at creating government that could do that. Just,
that's what 6/11 stands for.
Yeah.
June 11th, 1776 was when the the committee that was formed to draft the Declaration of Independence. So not the Declaration itself, but rather the planning process to make the Declaration. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or do you want me to end it to the two questions I ask everyone?
And let's say let's do the final two questions.
All right. So the final two questions is, who do you want to be 10 years from now, and what would you have told yourself 10 years ago?
Can you, maybe you purposely leave it open-ended, but when you say who do you want to be, what do you mean by that?
Who do you want to be in 10 years from now? Meaning if the person 10 years from now was sitting next to you, who would you want? Doesn't have to be exactly who you want to be, but what would be the best perception of success when it comes to looking at that person and saying, that's me, and I'm proud of that person?
Might be kind of a backwards answer, but someone who's thanking myself now for the decisions I'm making. As in I'm competent, I can lead people, I'm respectable, I can speak well, I have learned more things, I've learned new skills, I've failed and overcame the failure. In terms of like career or like assets, I don't know what that actually looks like, or I don't know if I like care about the specifics, but I want to look back at my future self and say, thank you for making those choices. I feel like that's what I want to be. That's the best way I can describe it. Because I know if I'm thanking myself, then I'm in a position where I don't ever want to be in a position where I was like, damn, I didn't do the right things not to overcome that. I'll always want to be like, hey, myself 3 years ago, like, yeah, you were really stupid in hindsight and you did all these things, but like, thank you for pushing yourself and for thinking long term and for putting yourself in this direction. Because now, because I feel like we're nothing more than who we've been right now. I always want to be someone who's thanking my past self, which just means like continuous improvement. In terms of like where I want to be in life, definitely want to have kids, definitely want to have like multiple businesses. Maybe would love to be in your seat, like interviewing people. I think that would be really interesting. I want to have stories to tell, and I want to be someone who can help people, as in, I kind of mentioned this in our brainstorming session, but like, in order to help people, you can always help people in terms of like, you can always, coach or be involved in your community or be a good person, treat people well. You can always have a small micro impact, like volunteer or whatever. I want to help people on a grand scale. Maybe you can say that's like selfish, egotistical reasons.
I don't think so. It's charity.
But I want to help people on a grand scale, which means you need to have power. You need to have respect. You need to have connections. You need to have resources. You need to know how to manage those resources. So the finite answer, and 10 years might be too short of a time frame for this, but in 10 years, if I'm in position to help people on a grand scale, whether that's owning a company where we're actually providing great products that are doing things that the company like works and can operate, or being a politician and fighting for some laws, or starting a charity, or having a media company where I'm interviewing people who are, inspiring the next generation. None of these things will happen without experience, power, competency, some level of authority. So I would say that's the filter.
So the person you want to be 10 years, you want to be able to look back and say that of all the things you controlled, you don't regret not pursuing them.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And thank you for thinking about me long term, not just the guy tomorrow.
So what would you have told yourself 10 years ago? Again, if he was sitting here right next to you.
I would probably tell myself that fun is overrated. And I would say fun's overrated. What's fun is accomplishment. What's, dopamine is not fun. And I do think that there's a lot of importance to it. But really I would just tell myself to think long term. Like read, try to do things, try to fail, put yourself out of your comfort zone. I'm probably spending too much time like running around with my friends, and like I love those experiences and I value them, and I think it provided a lot of value. But if I had a bit more balance, I'd be even more thankful for my 14-year-old self. You know what I mean? So I would say having fun is not that important. It is important, but not to the level I put it on. And do the things that yourself 10 years from now is going to thank you for. Like I would put that explicit thought into my brain.
Okay, cool. Anything else?
That's it.
All
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
It was a great time.
Yeah,
I look forward
it.
to watching the continued growth of the channel.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe. I don't think about like, oh, is this going to grow? It's like, if I do well, it'll grow.
Or continued growth of you, at least. Even if the channel doesn't grow in viewers or data or whatever, you'll get better at, you're already good, but like you'll continue to bring on better guests and, learn.
I think at the end of the day, everyone has their own little thing to talk about. So, yeah.
And I would like your feedback on how, the